Hello, everyone, and welcome back here on Sunday, or at least if you're on this side of the world, it should be Sunday. Then again, what's it like in America? Yeah, it is Saturday evening in America. So if there's anyone joining us from the States, it's very late now. Good evening to you all, and welcome back for the final day, final race of the weekend for the Super Series by B-Quik. Race 6 of the championship. There'll be 10 for the season total. We'll talk more about that in a bit here tonight as part of our flyaway here to the Petronas Sepang International Circuit this week and supporting racing across various categories in Malaysia. So looking forward to seeing how this one goes here today. We had ourselves a pretty dynamic race yesterday afternoon. Late safety car also disrupting the rhythm that the race had settled into, which meant that things were a little alive at the very end of it all. So we look to see what will happen here today. The rain, though, that we thought might have come has apparently decided to step away from the circuit. And in fact, actually, there it is on screen right now. You can see Sepang there just below. In fact, there you go. We get to see the mouse cursor. So tiniest bands there, but that was quite a while ago now. On the screen. So unfortunately, folks, it would appear that the rain is staying away, or at least it won't get here in time as well. So dry racing is said to be the order of business, but we'll talk more about that if that happens to change in the coming minutes and during the next hour of the race. Denny Yeaman here on the microphone once again to bring you the racing coverage and commentary, joined as well by Reese Gardner as well, and Jay Kennedy keeping an eye on the feeds and giving us things like that radar image we just saw there, Reese. And well, you and Jay have had a chance to watch through some of the Malaysian Touring Car Championship racing. It's been on just now, and it's been certainly an action-packed day, and a little things and consequences from that race that will affect the TSS race here coming up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It turns out some oil was dropped on the track by one of the cars in the Malaysian Touring Car Championship race. So I think the TSS guys are going to be having a little grip trouble out there. Obviously, the safety team will be dropping some stuff on the track to try and soak that oil up and give us a dry track, but they'll still have to be careful, at least in the opening laps. There may not be rain, but there's plenty of different ways to lose grip on a racetrack.
Yeah, and it may not just be the oil. It may also be things like taking a bit too much of the curb around this place. Certainly, there are curbs that are friendly, but there are others here that are a little unfriendly, to put it that way as well. So, not too far until race up, probably about between 10 and 15 minutes before we'll actually get underway here based on our information that we've got available via documents. One of the big things to talk about is that there was a clarification document put out this morning with the threat of rain in the area. A bit of clarification to GT4 teams specifically, because otherwise, as part of the rules for this weekend, it was going to be a case of no tyre changes permitted in the compulsory pit stop. But as it happens, we have had a clarification that should the track be declared wet at any point, GT4 cars may change from a dry tyre to a wet tyre, and vice versa should it then improve from a wet condition to a dry condition. Teams would be able to change back to a dry tyre race, but noting, of course, therefore critically, that you have to change tyre type. You cannot change from wet to wet or dry to dry tyres, but as we said now with the situation as is, it looks like that's going to be a bit of a non-factor for this one, but it is an important thing that had to be clarified by the stewarding team here this weekend.
Yeah, of course. Got to make sure to cover all your bases, otherwise it opens the rules up to misinterpretation and loopholes. So, yeah, ultimately it's a moot point with rain not expected for today's racing, but at the same time, yeah, it's good to see that the stewarding team is on top of all of that. Well, the racing for today is certainly going to be a repeat of yesterday, I'm sure. We had a great time calling the 1 hour plus 1 lap race in yesterday's action. Plenty of great battles for the lead, a safety car as well due to a car beached in the gravel. and plenty of great fighting for the win in the GT4 class. The Supercar GT4 category has turned out to be quite the draw this weekend here at Sepang International Circuit.
And with 12 cars in that GT4 field on track this weekend, that certainly is where a lot of the potential is at, because in classes like GT3 we have 7 starters there and 4 cars in GTM. I mean, there's all the potential in every category, to be clear, but it would appear at this stage that the GT4 cars is where the racing action is going to be at, so keep your eyes peeled on those classes when we can get them to you, as the drivers and head out on track now as part of the pit exit opening procedure. So probably definitely looking at it being at least 15 minutes away from the race start now, folks. So a bit of time to get yourself settled, get yourself tuned in, and ready to watch the racing action, as looks like we are going to get ready to have a look at the circuit and the grid information potentially as well, although it's also likely to come at a later stage, when the cars are on their formation lap. One of the big things for this weekend for me, Reese, is the fact that we are, as of yesterday, halfway done in the 2025 championship. Today's race effectively counts as the beginning of the second half of said championship. 10 races total for the season, 2 at Buriram to start off the season, 2 at the Bangsan Grand Prix, 2 here at Sepang this weekend. Another weekend in September, we'll have another 2 races at Sepang, and then a return to Buriram to finish the year in November. But looking at it at this stage, thanks to the way the season has played out, namely that retirement from race 2 of the weekend at Bangsan, we have ourselves a 1-point battle for the championship. Now, the document is provisional at this stage, but we very much have a championship fight on our hands, despite the pace that has been seen so far this season from the number 18 AAS Motorsport Porsche GT3 up against the number 12 Singer Motorsport Team Thailand Honda NSX. That is where our eyes need to be peeled if we start talking championship beyond the individual race results.
Yes, so the number 12 Singer Motorsport Team Thailand car, driven by Piti Bhirombakdi and Kantasak Kusiri, sits on 94 points at the head of the championship. Meanwhile, this number 18 here, driven by Vutakorn, Inthrapuvasak and Lauren Heinrich, is sitting just behind them on 93 points. Interesting to note that the only the number 18 actually has the only DNF of the season in that top 2, and that was back at round 4, and looks like pure consistency has been on the side of the number 12. The number 18 has been supremely quick, but ultimately they haven't gotten the most consistent results. They've won 3 of the rounds so far, but other than that, they have an 18-point run at round 1 and a DNF at round 4. Meanwhile, Piti and Kantasak, they won the first round, and they've been sort of second and third ever since. So it looks like the number 18 is going to be the one chasing here to try and make up that tiny little deficit that they have. Wet tyres, of course, are on the cart there on the starting grid, but it is doubtful whether or not they'll actually be needed. So get ready for the first of these sort of final runs of the championship to begin very, very soon.
Yes, indeed. I mean, point scheming, just going over it, for these 1-hour length races, TSS does use the Formula 1 point scheme. So 25 points for the race win, 18 for second, 15 for third, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. Unless there's a 3-point value that I missed over there. But top 10 score points every race for those cars that are in the championship, that is. So critically, for the number 12 of Piti Bhirombakdi and Kantasak Kusiri, they have not finished off the podium this season. Won the opening race of the championship at Buriram, and then a third place finish at the first of the Bangsan Grand Prix races. But then Buriram for race 2, Bangsan for race 4, and yesterday, of course, at Sepang for race 5. second place finishes across the clock. If anything, the blemish of the DNF, actually, it shows you how important that is. The fact that the gap is only 1 point in the championship, because they obviously every race win is worth 7 points over the next best competitor race, and to suddenly score 0 for one of those races and be behind despite all your gains in every other race really sort of, I think, makes the point clear.
Yeah, so the pressure's going to be on here for Lauren Heinrich and Vutikorn Intrafusak as their car comes round to the number 1 grid slot. They are on pole position for this final race of the weekend here at Sepang, and looking good for the moment. You know, once they got into the lead, especially once Lauren Heinrich got into the car yesterday, that car was practically unstoppable.
Both drivers in this car, I think, to be clear, have had the edge over their competitors. Regardless of who's been in the car, they've both drivers have been able to pull margins on the rest of the field, and I think that's it does say a lot about the performance potential in that car between both of those drivers and the team as well. The combination of AES Motorsport and the old Bambi Motorsport giving them a little bit of assistance if the team name is to be understood correctly there. So very much a powerful lineup and backing. Apart from the one crash where Vutikorn was behind the wheel at Bunsen, it has been nearly all cylinders firing for that squad. It does mean that when you look at the championship situation, just real quickly, there are only 2 cars that have started and finished every race of this championship so far. Your number 12 championship leaders, of course, have made, as I said, every race start and not finished off the podium yet this season. The other car that's made every start and every finish is the number 26 B-Quik Absolute Racing Porsche of Henk Kicks and Sandy Stuvik. They've got a best 2 third-place finishes as their best, and then 2 fourths and a 5th, as we just saw there. Track temperature today is a little cooler. Not a ton. It's only 5 degrees Celsius difference, but at 27C versus 32C on the track beneath the driver's feet, I'll be looking to see if they can go faster around here over the course of a lap with that kind of extra bit of grip that might be available to them here, Reese.
Yes, 5 degrees doesn't seem like much of a difference, but it can make all the difference when you're racing hard as these guys do. And especially in a sort of high humidity environment like you generally find in this part of the world. A little bit of coolness on the track can be the difference between setting your best laps and struggling with the car all stint. As we've mentioned, we were talking yesterday about the threat of rain, but that has unfortunately seemed not to come to pass. So if you were looking for some wet weather entertainment, you won't find it here, but you will find plenty of dry weather, hard racing around this beautiful circuit here of 15 turns in length, 5.5 Ks. It is a classic, a modern classic, I would say, is Sepang International Circuit. Designed in the late 1990s by Herman Tilke for Formula One, it hosted the Malaysian Grand Prix from 1999 until 2017. And it's recently been the host of the Malaysian Motorcycle Grand Prix as well. So an absolute world-class facility here in Sepang, and it's going to be playing host to what we reckon is a world-class championship here. These guys always bringing out their best to every round.
Yeah, they sure are indeed. And there you go, you see Lauren Heinrich behind the wheel getting ready for the race start in about 5 or so minutes time now. Unlike yesterday's race where it was the lower class driver taking the start, today all of the higher graded drivers must take the start for all the vehicles on track and switch over during that compulsory pit stop. Now that obviously does a few cars and teams will not have a driver change to do, but they are very much the minority among this field. In fact, I counted 3 cars in GT4 do not have a driver change, and they're towards the back of the field to start this second race of the weekend off. 2 of our drivers in GTM and just Douglas Koo in GT3 are solo pilots this weekend. So that's what we have to look forward to there. As there you go, confirmation. We are 5 minutes away from the start of the formation lap here, Reese. But talking championship, just having a quick look through things, because we have, of course, more to this series than just GT3. And this weekend, we also have GT4 and what's the word here? GTM. So GT3, GTM have been racing together this all year so far. GT4 usually is raced with the GTC class cars, but they haven't made the trip to Sepang. So it's been, this 1 hour super combine field, which means we get 23 cars on track at the same time. So having a quick look at things, GTM Championship, let's talk that real quick, if we can, because we have ourselves 5 cars now that actually, because most of them are 2 driver pairings, they actually count as equal first and then equal third, so on and so forth. But it's Natavude, the number 24 Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand GTM Supra, who leads the class championship because, and impressively, has done so without taking a single class win this year. 3 second place finishes, 1 third place finish, and a 4th place finish. It has been enough to stay ahead in the championship on 81 points. 3-point gap back to Simon Chan in the Fire Monkey Motorsport Porsche 992 Cup car. They have to watch out, though, because the PSC Motorsport Ferrari 296 is closing up on them quickly. Saravut and Afik sharing that car. 3 wins from 3 starts after missing the opening weekend at Buriram. And the gap between the discs is the top 3 cars separated by just 6 points in GTM at this stage.
Yeah, solid championship run happening for GTM, and that number 77, the Ferrari 296 Cup car, is or Ferrari Challenge car. My apologies. It is an incredibly quick machine, and the results of that team thus far really show it. As you mentioned, missed the first round of the season, but 3 wins on the trot at rounds 3, 4, and 5. To the point that the stewards and the technical committee here at TSS have induced some balance of performance changes to it. We mentioned yesterday, and if you missed yesterday's show, there's been a massive sort of hit to that car's performance. The drivers are only allowed to use 63% of the car's throttle pedal travel. So that's a major power restriction for the 77 Ferrari, but it's still just about the quickest car in the GTM field in spite of that. So I think that Natavude and Simon Chan are going to have to look over their shoulders in this one. Outside of them, we have 66 points for the number 9 and 50 points for the number 25 entry, who was here at the first round of the championship, but thus far didn't make an appearance at rounds 3 and 4 and got no points at round 5. Finally, the GT4 drivers standings, well, it's looking pretty good for Kamik Kamasuta and Kantadi Kusiri, the number 1 car, the defending champions. They sit on 105 points at the top of the championship, and the number 39 of Nakib Aslan and Mitchell Cheminji sitting on 76 points. So it's going to take a few miracles for them to make up that gap, especially after they suffered a DNF back at round 4. That's a major issue for their points.
Yeah, once again, DNFs being incredibly painful for our front-running cars in the championship that are looking to try and keep results on the board. There's our last couple of personnel clear the grid. We are counting down, I believe, in the final 30 seconds here before we should see the green flag. But it looks like you got somebody there with one of our GT4 cars. Door still open. That will need to be corrected because it looks like he's been told, get off the grid. Time's up. Yep, out of here, go. So last little bit of air blowing into the cabin there as well, potentially. I believe it was to one of the Toyota Supra GT4s there, possibly our red and white car there, which should be the number 95 for Inging Autoworks Racing entry. As there we are, 10 past the hour in Malaysia, and the formation lap will get underway here, Reese, and then we will see to the hour of racing to conclude the TSS weekend.
So, pulling away from the front of the field, Lauren Heinrich, followed by Kantasak Kusiri in the number 12. The Ferrari number 77 at the top of our GTM field, followed very closely by the GT4s. Only 4 GTM cars here today, but they gave us some great racing yesterday, didn't they?
They sure did. Part of that was also the challenge for Saravut and Afik having to start near the back of the field outright, which meant having to come through all the GT4s to catch up to their GTM competitors. But don't forget, the compulsory pit stop rules will also mix up this grid in the midpoint of the race. So here's how to line up. Starting drivers on the left of the name pairing. So Lauren Heinrich starting with Kenny Nakasiri on his outside, Carlo Van Dam, Sandy Stuvik for row 2, Aaron Lim-Sejun and Douglas Koo there, row 3. Akash Nandi, 5-place grid drop for the 27, puts it back in 7th, last the GT3s. Then GTM, Afik will lead them off with Simon Chan alongside Natapong and Natavude to round out the 4 cars there, and then Kantidi Kasiri will take the field to the green in GT4. We'll have Mitchell Chia Min G alongside then Sathapond and Roman LaRue on the second row there. Hayden Haikal and Kazuhisa Urabe for the third row. Tana Patra in the 99 will be 18th outright, 4th row with Todd James Kingsford. 5th row will be Puapon and Shuipang, and then Prusirat and Sutipong will make it 6 rows total for GT4, and the 23 cars in full that are set to start this race as they make their way around the circuit. Looking for a bit of final warm-up on these Pirelli P0 tyres as part of the SRO convergence for our GT categories here in the Super Series by B-Quik. And see here how we go for this second of 1 hour races this weekend.
Indeed. Field will form up very shortly as they make their way through the final sector. And the field's going to be passing by the spot where that yellow and black Audi GT3 went off yesterday, got beached in the gravel and caused the one safety car that we saw towards the end of yesterday's racing. And I have to say there's a fair chance that we might see something similar happen today with how hard these drivers tend to push. But for Lauren Heinrich here at the top of the field, it's all about trying to get that gap over Kantasak Kasiri and consolidate the lead for the car for when Vutakorn jumps in to take it to the finish as they form up 2 by 2, approaching the off-camber final corner where we've seen plenty of great moves, especially a little earlier on in the Malaysia Touring Car Championship race. Let's see if we see many of the same moves here today. Green flag will be in the air on the other side of the grandstand off to the right of the screen. And the pace car will pull into the pits momentarily to begin this day's racing. TSS back at Sepang once again. I'm looking forward to it.
Safety car is going to peel off quite late, waiting there for the lights to go out on the gantry for this one, folks. 1 hour plus 1 lap on the clock. Welcome to race 6 of the Super Series by B-Quik for 2025. And we get the lights out. It is time to go here at Sepang, and it's a jump from the second row for Carlo Van Dam to the inside potentially. Oh, no, covered off there as they make the run back towards the short. But it's going to be the number 12 outside. I was like 4 wide, if not 5 into T1.
Oh my God, and we see that, goodness, Sandy Stuvik trying to get up the inside there into turn 2 as there's a swap back there for the lead of the race. We were 3 wide for the GTM lead as well. Crazy start. It looks like Heinrich has gotten back ahead. The B-Quik Absolute Racing Audi with Akash Nandi at the wheel is trying to get back onto the podium there. Stuvik still pressuring for second versus Kantasak Kasiri. My God, what a start in the GT3s. And we've got plenty more cars out on track to keep track of. There's where the oil was dropped from the Malaysia Touring Car Championship race before, so don't go too wide there. But they are through that section and will find their way into something resembling an order. What a start.
That was actually wild. We've not seen that kind of a contest as Van Dam, 3rd place at the start of the race, and now drops back behind the 786, which has Aaron behind the wheel to start this race off here today. Aaron Lim-Sejun has come into turn 9 for the first time, second of our 3rd major braking zone, I should say. Apologies. Here we go in the GT4 field. And look at this here, Simon Chan. One of our contenders in the championship is 3 wide between our Caymans here through the corner. But just noting there that GTM car of Simon Chan buried back amongst the GT4s. So we're going to get a wide shot here, try to pick up the AES Motorsport, the 98 machine, pardon me there, as I try and read the numbers, 99, along with the 32 machine. So where are they in all of this order here, trying to find them on the timing screens? 32 has got Savapon behind the wheel to start the race off. The AES car is the 99, Patra, as back to the front of the field in GT3. It's on for second again as we make our way through the final turn. Sandy Stuvik tried the outside here around Cantac Siri. Can't make it work on this opening lap. It's back on again between Carlo Van Dam and Aaron Lim Sejun off the final turn, end of lap 1. And that is quite the opening to this race.
Certainly is. Douglas Koo in the background there getting pressured by the GTM leader as Stuvik is going to try around the outside of turn 1. Not quite able to. The two team cars there with a solid assault on Cantasac Kasiri. And it looks like Carlo Van Dam will keep the position versus Aaron in the Audi. But Lauren Heinrich's lead has jumped out to about 3 seconds or so. It was 2.7 at the start-finish line. It looks like the amount of battling that Cantasac has to deal with here is making him lose touch with the leader as we have a car off. That's the number 32 with Sathapond at the wheel. The B-Quik Absolute Racing Porsche Cayman in our GT4 AM class. And that's at turn 1. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's that close to a wall opening either. What happened to him here? Was it contact? It looks like it was.
That's the number 98 FaneLab Racing of Todd James Kingsford. That was to his inside. And that car had also been fighting with the 99 of Decker Thorne and Tano Patra in the AES Motorsport garage as well. So unfortunately, it's come unstuck. Does that mean, with the car still there, we should be expecting a question of will there be a safety car? So far, not just yet, as we're coming up on 56 minutes remaining in the race, and picking back up your GT3 leaders. They swing through turns 13 and 14. Just waiting to see surely the inevitability if that car is still indeed stopped on the exit of turn 1 as these feed drivers swing out onto the secondary straight. Focusing here on the 786 machine as being told here, safety car boards and flags are out on timing. There they are at turn 15 race, so the field will be neutralised. And, well, after a late race safety car yesterday, it's time for an early race safety car today.
All right, so bring the field back under control. That, I think, is a bit of a saving throw for Cantasac Kasiri as he was losing touch with Lauren Heinrich earlier. The safety car is going to bring the field back together and maybe give him a chance to fight for the lead with that number 18. Remember, it is a championship, almost stranglehold that those two cars have. Only 1 point between them for the Supercar GT3 Championship. But out comes the safety car, and for the moment, that number 1 Porsche Cayman leading the GT4 class, and an excellent start from Romain Leroux in the Team NZ Aston Martin as well in the number 7. He's sharing that one with the Kiwi Graham Dowsett, and a good start for that team for the moment. Mitchell Chair as well in the Winghen Motorsports Supra, third in GT4. So plenty of good runs up through the field thus far. But the safety car has stalled a few of these battles. It does give everybody an opportunity to reset, catch their breath, see where they're at, and try and find some way out of this current situation if they don't like where they are.
Yeah, the main thing for me, actually, when it comes to drivers being somewhere they don't want to be, is the number 10 of Simon Chan in that Fire Monkey Motorsport GTM car. Set to start on the front row of the GTM grid, but is now buried behind the top 4 in GT4. And we don't have an answer as to what's happened there, because we were so, cameras and ourselves are all so focused on the battle at the front of the field that we seem to have missed what happened to him, unfortunately, all on lap 1 as well. Because you can see here, Nanavude leads, Afik leads GTM, but then you've got Nanavude and Manak Kulapananot together. And then, yeah, 4 GT4s, and that there sticks out amongst these smaller, less aero-configured cars. So hopefully a question that we might be able to get see an answer of in some kind, but it's not a guarantee, unfortunately.
Yeah, so for now, what happened to Simon Chan remains a mystery. He's got the top 4 in GT4 between himself and the next GTM. And in fact, it seems that Saravut, who took to the start, Afik, who took to the start in the number 77 Ferrari, has also found his way ahead of Douglas Koo, who is the one solo driver in our GT3 class. You see that red Ferrari in amongst our GT3 machinery. They look quite similar, but that is a Ferrari Challenge car, which isn't quite as aero-dependent as the GT3 cars ahead of them. It does mean that under normal circumstances, without that 63% throttle pedal travel restriction, the 296 Challenge car can beat the GT3s in a straight line.
Yeah, and a track like this with 2 very long straights, the longest straight there tracked and counted as just over 900 meters. Does lose out in the braking zones, of course, and it may be a little less nimble on the straights as we have a take it to the pit lane there. The number 99 AS Motorsport, Decathlon and Tanner Patch is going to jump into the pit lane here under safety car. We are well before any compulsory pit windows. There's no message saying that they're required to come into the pits at this point. So something happening there that's going to see them drop down the order for now, at least, whilst we sort things out. And just a question there, but is there something up with the car and not need to...
Yeah, we correct me if I'm wrong, but we did see one of the GT4s. There was a team member still on the grid with the door open of the car, talking to the driver. Maybe that was the car that had that door open, or was it one of the Supras?
Possibly, but I thought it looked like the body shape was a bit of a looked like a bit of a Supra. That, and also the fact it was the right hand side door open, as you can see here with
they've taken off the left rear.
Yeah, very true, and looking very closely under the car at the rear of it too. So something is up with this car. We don't know what it is yet. And I get the feeling it has happened out on track. I mean, don't forget, this was a car that was in a 3-way scrap with the 32 that has since pulled over and retired from the race, and the 98 car, which the 32 was closest to right at the end of things. So there's entire possibilities here that there was something off screen involving the 98 and one of those 2 cars, the 99, sorry, and one of those 2 cars that we didn't quite catch, despite what we did see.
So, yet to see much word more from the stewards as they investigate the incident that brought out the safety car. Checking with the number 33 GT4 Pro-Am, currently the last running in that subclass with Fuapon at the wheel. The Alpha Factory Racing team by Pulsar got the GT4 Am leaders behind them in the number 98 with Todd James Kingsford, who, as we mentioned, is the car that made that contact with Sathapond to bring out the safety car. Speaking of the safety car, it looks like it's going to be returning to the pits at the end of this lap. So they've managed to recover the number 32 from the runoff area of turn 1, and we'll be able to get back to racing at the end of this lap.
Yep. So we have lost about 6 or 7 minutes as a result. So that's the order of business here with the safety car condition, folks. So good to be racing once again. It means we'll be able to get a rhythm hopefully settled and then start thinking about the pit stops that will shake up this race in some fashion. Because, of course, with less time until the pit window opens, less time for our faster cars to break away. So, again, a reminder with the way the compulsory pit stop rules work here in TSS, in case you're not familiar with them just yet. There is a minimum pit entry line to pit exit line time all cars must observe. In GT3 and GTM, that minimum time is 1 minute and 25 seconds, or 85 seconds if you read it off. And that's actually also the same, pardon me, for GT4. So every car, regardless of class, must be in the pits from entry line to exit line for at least 85 seconds. You then have, based on the FIA driver grades, adjustments to those times, upwards of 40 plus seconds, as it looks like, though, we are going to be going green here for the restart. Yeah, there we go. Back up to speed already for Lauren Heinrich. But the cars behind are going with him here on the restart. Hasn't been able to jump it and pull clear on this one. And he's wide to the last turn. They can't pass him, Reeds. But as we go back to green, maybe a chance here in turn one if it's a good exit for Kansas Kasiri on the run to turn number 1.
Our race goes green once again. Our GTM field pulling through our GT4s as well. Some good racing going on there as Simon Chan in the green Porsche tries to make up some of the ground that he lost close into turn 1. News from race control came through just before the safety car ended. That incident between the 98 and the 32, no further action. So evidently deemed not worth investigating further. It did look like pretty minor contact and a solid move from the cars. So evidently just shame that what happened and play on. But for now, racing in the GT4s here as trying a move up the inside of, was that Chan that the 98 that the 39 managed to grab there? Well, we'll have to wait and see, but looks like Lauren Heinrich at the front of the field is wasting no time bringing up that gap to the same it was before the safety car. Kantasat Kusiri struggling to stay within the wheel tracks of this AAS Motorsport Porsche. The pace is looking supreme at the moment, and remember, Sandy Stuvik is right behind as well in the other Porsche 911 GT3R. So he'll be looking for some big moves in the next couple of laps. The 77 Ferrari at the lead of GTM has gotten a fantastic start, and they currently lead their class by the better part of a country mile.
Yep, and they got Douglas Koo in between themselves and the next best car in class of Nadavude. As despite the pressure there on the restart lap, looks like Lauren Heinrich has got the car fired up and he's starting to make a bit of margin over Kantasat Kasiri at this stage. As into the final corner we'll go. We'll get an update on that gap there for you in a moment, because you see it was 0.3 across the line on the restart. And as we come around, the gap looks a little closer actually than what it was into turn 15. It's now 0.8 of a second though. As you can see, our top 6 here in GT3, or we saw it was mostly 5. There is another car just off the back of shot. 5 seconds covering them here at the end of the first flying lap. And once again, through turns 1 and 2, that looked like there for a moment that Kansas Kasiri a little closer to Lauren Heinrich than he was at the end of the lap. So maybe we're starting to see here a case of just the cars performing better in different sectors. So back to Simon Chan amongst the top 4 in GT4. Still in front of him. He's yet to be able to make his way through, which is kind of surprising. I would have thought for a Porsche Cup car, less aero, or maybe he is more aero, but still higher performance car, bit more power, should have been able to clear these guys without too much fuss. Although he's being defended by, that's the 95 there, which Yu Satsumi, I believe, is behind the wheel, pardon me, rather than Kazuhisa Arabe, who normally drives that car, but we've had new driver in that car for the weekend, in the 95, that is.
Here's the battle for the lead in GT4 Pro-Am with Romain Leroux in the Aston Martin, pressuring Kantasat Kasiri in the Porsche Cayman. Tries to find a move up the inside at the hard right-handers in the middle of the lap. I love that sequence of corners. It's basically a double apex, and it allows you to set up a great run. The Aston Martin goes for the move at the hairpin, but the cutback underneath from the number 1. This GT4 lead battle is on for sure, and Roman doesn't want to let it go. Dives up the inside at turn 12. Easy does it on your way into this high-speed S-bend section. The Cayman is going to have to yield. You can't quite go side by side through there without losing a chunk of time. All of this battling is helping Mitchell Cheer to stay in touch with them. It seems like no one wants to lead the GT4 class right now, and we still have our GTM Porsche behind them looking to make himself a part of this action. The Aston Martin with a better run down the back straight here, and it's a great slipstream opportunity for the two Supras behind.
Yeah, this is getting very spicy. Wheels touch for the lead of the GT4 class. And there goes Susumi to the inside of the 95 car. Going to muscle out possibly Kantadi Kasiri here. And only just the one spot there on Mitchell Cheer-Min-Ji. As look at them all line up behind LaRue in the Aston Martin. Simon Chen, you can see he's got the straight line speed as he pulls up past the two GT4s in the back of this pack, but he's got the inside wide open because he can't get involved in the scrap as LaRue's deep at turn one. Possibly here Susumi up to second place as a result here through turn two. Can he challenge for the race lead here as Simon Chen back behind all four of the GT4s once again. Still stuck as now, there you go, Mitchell Cheer-Min-Ji gonna elbow a little bit on Kasiri there through turn three and push the AES Motorsport Championship leading Cayman back to fourth place by turn four.
Wow, goodness me, how things can change in just half a lap. That Cayman was fighting for the lead coming into the final corner and now sitting a somewhat distant fourth now. Romain Leroux continuing to lead the way, but goodness me, that 95 Supra is looking racy here early on. Can't wait to see how much more they can pressure the Team NZ Aston Martin, and we'll see if Kantadi Kasiri can grab that podium back because he is right up behind Mitchell Cheer-Min-Ji. And Simon Chan still sitting behind these guys. You know, it's a difficult position for Simon to be in because he is driving a car that's technically faster than these GT4s, but they're battling so hard for the lead here, he doesn't want to get in the way. There's the move from the Supra, but the Aston Martin covers.
A couple of right-hand turns there for Susumi. Tried to use them to his advantage, but LaRue hangs on the exit of turn 12 and then gets the left-hand entry of 13 to conserve a position. But there you go, try to park the car into turn 14 as the Supra of Susumi looking really strong indeed through the corners under brakes. You can see it says Kazuhisa Arabe on the graphics, but according to my documentation, it's a different driver sharing that car with Prakun Fawn Prapa in that 95 machine. Is back up the front here. Well, this is GTMM subdivision. That's why it says Nadavuda is leading that. Second outright in GTM, and you can see the gap already 12 seconds up the road to Afik, who's leading the GTM classes. Here we go. Not just going to stay to the pit wall. A little bit of a snake out to the racing line to open the entry to turn one, and LaRue aggressive on the entry here. Reese going to make sure that he's late on the brakes, also ankles in towards an early apex, protects that class lead for now as we get this now, the 8th lap of the race underway.
Tell you what, the Mercedes there, the number 36 of Hayden Heikal sharing with Daniel Bilski. I don't think we saw that car out on track yesterday. They are back out here for Sunday's race, and they're starting to make tracks on this top four battle, as it seems no one wants to let anyone get away here. A little clip of the grass there from Kantadi Kasiri coming into turn 4. That was almost disastrous. A high-speed corner entry here at, well, I suppose we're at the point now where you could call Sepang an old school circuit. It doesn't have much in the way of tarmac runoffs, but it's got plenty of gravel and grass lining the edges of the racetrack.
Yeah, it sure does indeed. As a checking in here with the PSC Motorsport Ferrari 296 Challenge of Fik and Saravut. And yeah, they're just in a world of their own. You can see at the start of the lap, they were 11... over 13 seconds behind the leading pack of GT3s, and then 9 seconds clear of Douglas Koo, and all of these drivers here. Then further on back, because we return to the GT4 battle, it really looks like it's starting to fan a little bit, and it's now purely down to LaRue and Susumi for this GT4 class leaders. Up into turn 14, you can see it looks like on that occasion LaRue maybe trying to open the entry back it up a little bit there versus Susumi, and it all evens out as there indeed is the 36 machine of Daniel Bilski starting the car. No, pardon me, it'll be Hayden Heikal starting the car. Daniel Bilski will take over in the back half of the race. They did race yesterday, Reese, just didn't qualify and had to start from the rear field. So that did mean they were a little behind the 8 ball in that one there.
I see. Apologies for the error. Well, there's a little wrinkle in the battle for the GT3 lead. I saw pop up on our notifications from race control, black and white flag unsporting for track limits. Final warning for the number 12 machine that runs in second. So Kantasak Kasiri, I think, needs to be careful to keep that Honda NSX within the bounds of the racetrack. It seems that Sandy Stuvik is pushing as hard as he can to catch back up as well. Here is the number 12 in question. I'm not sure where exactly they're picking up the track limits violations, but there's plenty of places around Sepang where you can run beyond the limits of the white line to gain an advantage. Right there is one of them at turn 13, and probably at the exit of turn 14 as well.
Yeah, definitely a lot of opportunities here at this circuit to push the limits too far. I think also important to note, in addition to a track limits, warning for the number 12 already in this race, the 99 car, which we did see down the pit lane up on the Jackson inspecting the left rear, is under investigation for a pit lane infringement. And, well, we did note that there was a clarification about if the weather changed here today, that teams could obviously change from dry compound to wet compound tyres, but it did clarify no changing to a different tyre of the same compound. Did they change the tyre on that came in, and therefore they're going to technically fall afoul of that regulation for this weekend, perhaps?
There's potential there. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't just reattach the tyre that they took off in the pits. It seemed they were looking more at the rear suspension than anything relating to the tyres. A Stuvik there with a bit of a slide on the way into turn 4. This Porsche has shown immense pace at the front of the field, as has the other Porsche running out in front, but still looking to defend that third overall place there from Akash Nandi. It seems that there's no team orders at B-Quik Absolute Racing. These guys are free to race against each other as much as they like, and it's a bit deep under the brakes there for the number 27. Avoids getting into the back of Stuvik, though.
It's getting close between these two big Absolute Racing cars, it seems. Don't forget, though, Akash Nandi, who we saw, again, was doing well yesterday, but then did make the mistake to end up in the gravel at turn 13 just here, over on the other side of the circuit. They're outside the penalty loop, as you can see for the MotoGP bikes. But also critically, a 5-place grid drop for today's race. So that car was out of position, I believe, at the start of the race, although they then immediately were pressuring for the front of the field. So maybe they were permitted to start up towards the front, because otherwise they would have had to have a monster run from the back of the GT3 field through to what was battling 4 wide for the lead on lap 1.
Indeed. We do apologise for the brief interruption of proceedings. It seems we're experiencing some trouble with the live feed. We'll endeavour to bring that back to you as soon as possible. The gap now out to 4 seconds between Lauren Heinrich and Kantasak Kasiri. And things looking pretty stable at the front of our GT3 field, with the number 77 continuing to lead the way in GTM, and GT4 continue to be led by the 95 of Yui Tsusumi in the Supra. We are back.
That's slow.
Oh, yeah, that does look a little slower than it should be, and there's no yellow flags. So, yeah, that's not ideal there for the, is that the
number 9?
That's not the 24, it's the number 9, yeah. So, unfortunately, Natapong, at the wheel of that car, has had some kind of issue around this lap. Looks to be potentially a mechanical failure.
Of some kind, you would think electronic, perhaps, as well. Something that's causing that car to go slow. Yeah, all of a sudden, they're nowhere. because they were up behind their teammate Nana Vude in class. While all of this has been happening, compulsory pit window has opened for all of our vehicles, and Douglas Coos being one of the first cars into the lane to take compulsory service. Whilst the GT4 cars weren't permitted to do a tyre change, it would appear that for the GT3 cars, that's certainly on the cards here. So a fresh set of Pirelli P0s going on the Viper Nizza Racing Mercedes AMG. And with all the service done, just now has to wait for the clock to run dry. And a minute 33 for Douglas Coos today from pit entry to pit exit. We'll keep you posted as he comes out. The race leader, Lauren Heinrich, rounds the final turn once more to make this 11 laps complete. And you'd presume he'll go as far as he can into this race, given that he's got the turn of pace so far of the field. Though a 208.2 last lap and a 207.5 for Kanta Kasiri on the last lap. So lost a couple of tenths there, Reese. It's not exactly invincible and indomitable up front.
No, and I think traffic might have something to do with that. Heinrich is starting to make his way through the last few runners of the GT4 field as more pitters here. That's the number 19 coming in with Sutapong going to be jumping out to hand over to Grant Supapong. Drivers exchange places there. A little bit of a bump to the shoulder there as they were trying to get stuff ready for Grant in the cockpit of the Supra. And pit stop looking to be going reasonably smoothly for now. Just getting Grant sealed into the car. And they'll be able to give over the compulsory pit time and let him go. Of course, this is part of the sort of extra time that they have to spend there. The two Supras behind get released pretty much simultaneously. And back out on track now with the number 77. Afiq Yazid has been driving well at the front of the field. Going to wait for him to hand over to Saravut at the pit stop. Now, when does Lauren Heinrich decide to come into the lane? I agree, Dan, that he'll be wanting to stay in that car as long as possible. Try and consolidate the advantage that team currently has. The pit window won't be open for too much longer, though. Only another 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, correct. It will close at 25 minutes remaining in this race. But that is conditional on us staying under green flag conditions. Should we get a safety car, the pit window will be suspended. And the remaining time on the window would then resume post-safety car. As whilst we've been looking at other battles up and down the field, change for the GT4 class lead. It's going to be the 95 machine. And Yu Tsutsumi behind the wheel is now ahead of Romain Leroux here as we're coming up in the midst of this pit window. So that is an important shift there for the ENG Autoworks racing car to get clear. The Team NZ Aston Martin, you've still got the championship leader and defending series champions in this class of Kanta Series still there and threatening in the leading Porsche Cayman GT4.
So the number 39, Mitchell Chemin-J, has brought it into the pits and handed it over to Nakib. That car currently on its out lap. So we're waiting to see the pit sequence of these cars. We've got another track limits final warning for car number 7 this time. That is the Aston Martin you see in the middle of the frame there. Apparently, Romain Leroux has been a little bit liberal with his usage of this racetrack, so needs to be careful to keep it within the white lines as he looks to bring it in the next lap or two to hand it back over to Graham Dowsett. He's starting to see that Cayman creep ever closer in the mirrors, and a little flash of the headlights there from Kanta Di Kusiri. Maybe unsettle Romain Leroux ever so slightly. The Cayman just looks really comfortable there, riding that inside curb in a way that the Aston Martin doesn't seem to be able to pull off.
Yeah, without a doubt, that particular part of the circuit is where they are strongest. Checking back in here with our leading cars in GT3. As you see, Carlo Van Dam going to get past one of our GT4 Supras, which I don't believe is heading for the pit lane there, based on their positioning of the circuit. And then also checking in here with your GTM race leader. Feek is happily running around, it seems, on his own there in this 296 challenge. We'll have to see if I can get an update on the gap. It was 26 seconds at the end of the previous lap that he'd completed, to put it all in perspective. So that's just showing you how comfortable things are for this Ferrari. And it makes you ask the question of, what more could you possibly do to slow this thing down? Like, it has had some ballast added this weekend. It's got this custom throttle map limitation. So again, as you said, 63% throttle is the maximum they're allowed to actually put into the car, which we were also wondering, if it did rain, would that mean they'd have a almost unfair advantage in the wet with less power available by being throttle restricted? But, well, that's not come to pass.
That is a good point. If we have any wet races towards the end of the season, it'll be interesting to see that put into practice. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know, apart from adding a few bricks to the cockpit, or, I don't know, putting a rhubar on the front of the thing to add some weight to the front and mess with the drag. That Ferrari Challenge car is still supremely quick in spite of everything that's been done to sort of bring it more in line with the rest of the GTM class. But at the same time, that's partially what I like about the GTM class, the fact that, you know, it's pretty much a mixed bag kind of category. There's multiple cars that you can race there. Oh dear, it looks like there's been a problem for the number 12 as the 18 comes in. Lauren Heinrich bringing the race leading car into the pits. But for the number 12, who also joins him coming into pit lane, 5 seconds have been added to the compulsory pit stop time for Kantasak Kassiri and Piti Birambakti. And I believe that might be to do with the track limits warnings that they were getting before.
Yep, well, quite explicitly says it's for track limit infringements. So that is important to see. Look at that, top 5, I believe, in GT3 have all piled into the pits in addition to GT4s. We're at the end of the window, so it makes sense. But just seeing their comment also about the fact that it looks like it's been easy going for the AES Motorsport Porsche and Lauren Heinrich in this opening season race, which it has been strong running from him so far. But critically, in this minimum stop time, they were going to give up 9 seconds to the number 12 Singer Motorsport Team Thailand car, but with the 5-second penalty, only going to be a 4-second difference in into pit out time required. And when the gap was 5.8 seconds on the way into the pits, and it's now 7.8 as actually in the pit lane. So with all of those numbers in mind, the number 18 should still come out in front with Vudicorn behind the wheel, but it's going to be close here on pit exit. Going to have to watch, because they're total time here of 131, 2 minutes and 11 seconds for the number 18. It's only 2 minutes and 2 seconds for the number 12 as the Team NZ, Aston Martin there, out of the pit lane and on the roll. The Racing Aurora Mercedes GT4 also heading out with Hayden Heikel behind the wheel now, as we're waiting to see when the AES Motorsport Porsche will be released from the pit lane there. You can see they've got their GT4 cars actually either side of them here, so they're going to have to be careful to get that car out on a tight angle here. As you can see here, teams waiting for the compulsory pit time to count down. And further on back, the Singer Motorsport crew actually having to push the Ferrari, and
oh dear, they're so tightly packed in the pit lane here that they actually can't get the cars maneuvered. This is disastrous. Goodness me.
Well, they managed to...
Yeah, they roll out, but that wasn't ideal. Obviously, the pit stalls here quite close together at Sepang, and this is a bit of a unique setup for Thailand Super Series, having all of our supercar GT classes racing at the same time. As the number 77 is completing its pit stop here, we'll have Saravut jumping into the car. And for the moment, they still look to be holding on to the lead of GTM, but out of the pits now for Sandy Stuvik and Henk Kicks, who now takes over that number 26. They found their way past the number 18. So now Vutakorn, taking over from Lauren Heinrich in the AAS Porsche, has something to race for.
And he's not the only one. I can tell you there are more cars ahead of these two. Let's see if we catch them in a longer shot, perhaps to turn 9. As look here at the 77 heading out on track to get back racing. As Henk Kicks a little defensive here against Vutakorn into turn 9. That might make him vulnerable through here, though. So watch up through this first right at turn 10, second right, turn 11. Well, pardon me, turn 12, apologies. Kept the apex open to Henk Kicks, but gets through still in front at this stage of the race. I just need the long shot because I can tell you there is at least one of the B-Quik Absolute Racing Audis ahead of these two, but never mind. Turn 14, Vutakorn is going to make his move and not be held up much longer if he can avoid it here. And a little bit of a wiper action there to get that out of the way or clean the windscreen perhaps.
Defending the position from Henk Kicks, coming into the final corner of the lap, and will be the first complete. There is our GT3 leader at the moment, the 786, with Hazik taking over. Hazik Zaralo taking over from Aaron Limsey-June, making their way past GT4 traffic. And you have to go all the way back here to turn 1 to find the former race-leading number 18.
Welcome to the compulsory pit stop and the compensation times in effect. Not only, so to put this in perspective, just as a bit of a clarification, that 786 car, both Aaron Limsey-June and Hazik Zarail are FIA bronze-rated drivers. It's an all-amateur lineup. As a result, they have no additional compensation times. They did not finish in the top 3 outright in GT3 yesterday either. So they have a minute 25 pit in to pit out time, and they have nailed that with a 1 minute 26 in to out transit. The next best car on pit lane time is Douglas Koo at a minute 33. Beyond that, it's a minute 42 for the 27 of Akash Nandi and Adasak, who's behind the wheel right now. They are actually a little slow through the 1 minute 52. They right on the money as well. But right there, that's 7 seconds that the 786 gains on the field.
Yeah.
In the pits. And is allowed to gain in the pits, to put it in perspective.
So now I guess we have to think about the lap time difference between these cars as well. So the 786 comes across the line, and yeah. Here we go then. 11 seconds was the gap. And yes, indeed, I was looking at the wrong straight there. I keep looking at that alternate pit lane that we used last time we were at Sepang and thinking that's where the lap times are counted, but they're not. It is the main start-finish straight here, and the main pits that the teams are using for this round of TSS. The gap's staying pretty stable at the front, around about 11.6 seconds. It was 11.0 last lap. So, if anything, it seems that Hazik and Aaron are still steaming away at the front of this field.
He did gain nearly 0.7 of a second on that last lap, so watch out for it because, all of the cars in the top 4, 2 minute 11. Fastest car of anyone on that first flying lap post pits off for GT3 was Piti Pirombakti in the number 12. 2 minute 11.1. There's a couple of windscreen wipers are out in effect. We can't see any rain here, Reese, but that's at least 2 cars they're going into turn 4 who have the wiper on.
Yeah,
so is there something there that we can't quite see yet that's warranting the need of the wiper?
Well, I mean, from looking at these camera views here, you can see there's a little bit of a sort of mist in the air. So I don't know if there's some sprinkles around certain parts of the circuit or not, but you never know. Could be a fair chance of that.
I think we just heard in the back in corner of in our ears, at least, from our producer here, Jay Kennedy, saying that nothing on weather radar to note at this point in time. So something, if we just show it here real quick, yeah, it's very clear skies apparently in Sepang compared to the cloud, the rain formations there on the island north Sumatra to the south, and I believe further out just in towards the ocean. But there you go, Team NZ Aston Martin's got the wiper on now. The B-Quik Absolute Racing headlights coming on as well.
Yeah,
And I'm starting to thinking this is a little
at the weather
more.
radar. It looks like there is rain very close to the circuit. We might be getting some whispers of that.
I think I can see it. Here we go. In the foreground is shot in towards turn number 1. The rain has arrived.
Yeah.
The field is on slicks. This is going to be hairy.
The rain is here, everybody. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we were hoping for yesterday. You can already see there's some standing water starting to form on the track at turns 1 and 2, and the pace has absolutely vanished. Those cars are crawling through the opening turns.
2-minute 14 for your leader last lap versus a 2-minute 13.3. There you go. The slippery surface flags now out. And actually, interesting to see by turn 4, it's apparently almost gone. So is it coming across the circuit?
It's coming from the south. It's coming from the south. So it's the sort of turn 12-ish area that's finding the rain first. So that turn 4 area is like the last dry area of the racetrack at the moment.
So right, drivers now coming back towards the weather. Let's watch here to see what the circuit looks like in sectors 2 and 3, because here looks somewhat dry for now. As you can see here, battle between Graham Dowsett and Daniel Bilski, but they're having to also watch out for Vudicorn, who wants to get through here to keep the pressure on. And now a track of 2 hard. Look at this here. We're already back towards turn 10, 11, and up towards 12. This still looks... Oh, no, I'd take that back.
Rooster Tails, enter stage left. Oh, dear. So, I mean, there's 15 minutes to go in the race. I think this is a bit of a dilemma for the teams because, you know, the rain is going to start to come down pretty hard in the next few minutes. Look at that already. Our GTM leader, the 77, going to be changing to wets. I think this is going to trigger a rush to the pits for practically everyone.
It's a question of, is the driver confident enough to keep on these slick tires and try and just generate your temperature on the other side of the circuit? I think the answer I'm seeing on timing screens is that may not be the case for the 786. It would appear the B-Quik Absolute Racing cars might have just pulled the trigger whilst we're watching here the PSC Motorsport car get wet tires fitted. The Audi and the Porsche from B-Quik as latest update from Restaurant was rain lights on. I think I just saw the 786 Audi in the background is shot. So they've decided that they can't do this part of this. There you go, the second of the B-Quik Audis in the pit lane. So our top 2 cars have decided they can't do this on the slicks. They're going to have to do this on a set of wets. But with a track that's half wet, half dry, if that's still the case, it's going to be pretty hairy as finally the 77 gets underway there on their wet tires for the second part of the race.
Oh boy, out of the pit lane they come, and you see the headlights reflecting off the wet racetrack here. This rain has literally come out of nowhere. I've been looking at the weather radar and pressing play over the last 45 minutes. Just this cell of rain just appeared to the south of the circuit and started spreading north over the last 20 minutes or so. So this is likely caught a few people out. It's definitely caught us out up here in the broadcast booth. But here we are, the AAS Motorsport and Singer Motorsport Team Thailand cars in the pit lane. Yeah. Now, Vutakorn has stayed in the lead, but has this car already come into the pits?
No, he is gambling on slicks in these conditions right now, Reese.
Yeah, you could see the understeer there. He's
But he's
hoping
not
that
the
the
only
time
one.
spent. Yeah, he's hoping that these guys are hoping that the time spent changing tires is enough for them to stay out on track and still have the gap work out to the end of the race. So the 18 and the 12 have both gambled for the moment on these slick tires. There's barely anything between them. Douglas Koo there on his outlap behind them, it seems.
This
And will we see either of them come to the pits here?
Well, this will be important because, like, it's a case of it's a gambit here. It's that's the curb for the number 12 in the background is shot. Did they get it pulled up for the final corner? Because the curb surely now is dangerous, to put it mildly. Yeah, he did actually. Okay, so that worked out all right. So the important thing is going to be here when we get to some of the wetter parts of the circuit. Does Douglas Koo have far more grip? If he wants to let past on the headlights here, as he back up into turn one. Here we are into the proper wet part of the circuit. As passing GT4 traffic on pit exit as well. Reminder: this is the race lead. This is the championship battle here in mind, and they're on slick tires with 12.5 minutes and another lap on top of this to go. As we await to see what this is going to do, because this is wild here. What like at turn 4? Remember this part of the track that was sort of dry. It still looks dry up here, so this must be why they're staying on slicks. Yeah. Try and get to this part of the circuit. Get some temperature back in it. There we go, trouble.
Graham Dowsett has beached the number 7 Aston Martin into the gravel and is spinning the wheels. This will likely bring out a safety car, and that is going to completely ruin the gamble that our GT3 top 2 tried to pull. We'll see what happened here. Just slipping off at turn 1. Into the gravel, manages to keep it out of the wall, thankfully, so no damage to the car, but it's already dug deep into the gravel, and there's no way you're going to get that Aston Martin out without assistance. Graham Dowsett will be very frustrated with that one. First real big incident of the race, aside from the little coming together that put the number 32 out and brought out the safety car. Look at this. They are struggling here at the top of the field, side by side for the lead. Safety car still hasn't been called by race control. Both of them are struggling to keep it on the track.
Oh my goodness. Surely they need to abandon this gambit. This is a championship race that we're talking about as well. They said these two cars are so closely matched in the championship, they cannot afford to have a negative result. It's what already allowed this championship to be so close, despite the numerous wins that the AAS Motorsport number 18 has racked up. But again, you get to this spot here. Yes, there's still a little bit of water coming up off the circuit, and definitely in the case of Douglas Koo, he's getting the water up off the track. But maybe it's just the tiniest bit dry in these parts that they can hang on to it, and they're still going to go around again.
Yeah, I think that there's a few things you need to think about when you're in a sort of transitionary phase when it comes to rain. Like if you've got rain falling on the circuit and some parts are wetter, some parts are drier. Yes, wet tires will give you the best grip in the wet conditions, but if you get to a drier part of the racetrack and those soft sort of high tread wet tires, another car's gone off. That's the number 95 with Prakun and now at the wheel. Where is that? That looks like exit of turn 9, 10, sort of around that area, maybe. I think we're definitely going to see a safety car out of this. That's way too close to the racetrack to remain there and be safe. And look at how deeply it's embedded itself in the gravel as well. That car is half buried.
It's wild. For reference, Haziq gained 10 seconds on your race leader's last lap by being on wet tires versus being on slicks in these conditions. Now, the $1 million question to me is, I actually don't know if the safety car does come out. Can these guys do this? As we're swinging the camera around, was that to try and pick up because if we don't know where that 95 car has gone off, just waiting to see if maybe we get it. Because here we go, back into the wet part of the circuit. properly wet, that is, at turn. Also, the wild thing, they're driving around not only on slicks, but they're also more or less on the standard dry line here, and not really suffering too much for it. But then you get to here. Oh, it's here, turn 10.
Oh, it is turn 10. All
so
right.
There you go.
And safety car has been called. So this is going to be a massive blow for our championship leaders. The advantage that they had is going to completely disappear now. I mean, if you could even call it an advantage in the first place. They would have been hoping that the slick tires had enough heat in them to sort of drive off the worst of the moisture, but that's not going to happen now.
And the $1,000,000 question, which I don't know the answer to, is the pit lane closed under a safety car or not? We're well outside the compulsory window, so obviously it's a case of if they can come in, get out as fast as they can on a set of wet tires, because they're losing time. Going to watch here to see, do they choose to pull into the pits? Are they allowed to pull into the pits? Neither of them will. They're going to stick it out. They're going to be on cold, slick tires with a field of runners on wets behind them, directly behind them too, when we get this race restarted. But it may take a moment with two cars at two different points of the track that need recovery.
Unsafe pit exit from the safety car, crossed over the blend line, 10-second penalty in the pits, I think.
Well, they'll still be scored last, given, they haven't been, they've only been deployed twice.
Yeah. Well, we have two cars in the gravel. We have the number 7. We have the number 95 as well. It's going to take a bit to recover those two cars. Question is, will this safety car stay out to the end of the race? Remember, it is 1 hour plus 1 lap. That is the race distance. If they manage to get those two cars cleared in time, we might be able to get a restart with a minute or so on the clock to go, potentially. But that would require very quick action from the safety team. So are we going to see a safety car finish here?
That's also quite a plausible potential here, in which case it doesn't really matter that you stayed out. It means that you're able to hang on and persevere in the conditions, and you've done a very good job in the process to make that work out for you there. So it's just going to be a question now. It needs a bit of time to be answered because we don't have that information right this second here. But having a look at the order of the situation, so Vudakorn and Piti Bhirombhakdi out there on slick tyres in this weather have hung on so far. Then the rest of the GT3 field, Hazik, Atasak, Henk Kicks and Vorvud Bhirombhakdi all came in for wet tyres and were making up time as a result behind those three drivers. But didn't get there in time to catch up. Nadavude, also, I believe, looking at things, came into the pits. Or did he not? 1 minute 46. Let me just check the compulsory stop times. That is right on the marker. I think Nadavude stayed out in GTM. He's also done the same thing, just been able to hang on because his pit stop time recorded is right on the money, basically the number required for his compulsory stop. Unfortunately, we don't have stint lengths or that kind of data, so we can't say for sure, just numbers-wise, everyone who did take a tyre change is in and out in about a minute. So that's the only data we can really got to reference. As past the second incident site will go Reese, although no sign there of the 90 maybe already partially recovered at this point.
Yeah, looks like they've already managed to clear that car while the field was forming up on the other side of the circuit. Well, coming up on 4 minutes to go. And from yesterday's race, when we had a safety car period, safety car lap takes around about 4 minutes. So I have to wonder, is this going to be the last opportunity that they have to get some racing in? The safety car would have to come in at the end of the next lap in order for us to get a green flag finish. But I think they might just keep it out there.
Yeah, they may just indeed. We have had races cancelled due to too much rain. We're not anywhere near that kind of condition here today, but it may be considered approach. Because also the fact that, we've got 3 minutes to go. We're barely going to get another lap complete at safety car speeds. So the clock would reach 0 at the end of the next lap by my estimates. So if we do restart, it's a 1-lap sprint. And that's going to be particularly nasty for Budokan and Piti Bhirombacti, of course. As I said, cold, slick tyres versus a few other cars on wets. Their only saving grace is you've got 3 GT4s behind them and a GTM before you get any GT3 cars in. So do not do class reshuffling here at TSS. So as you can see, you've got the 33 of Pao Fong. You've got the number... I think that's the number 1 car now. No, sorry, that looks like it's the 99 car there, just behind the timing tower, actually. So that would have... Where is that? My apologies. Decathlon, if that is indeed who that is.
Yeah, they're all the way down in 18th overall. They are a lap or 2 down at the moment.
And then the number 60 of Shui Pang and Simon Chan, who's nearly a lap... Simon Chan nearly a lap down, despite being second in GTM. Because he has chosen to pit and take tyres, I think. Yes, he has.
Safety car coming into the pits at the end of the lap. It's just been announced by race control. So we are going to get a green flag finish, it seems.
And also a follow-up note, a double yellow caution at turn 1. Does that mean that the Team NZ Aston Martin's not been recovered and is being left at turn 1, which will nullify an entire overtaking zone here on the restart?
I think that may be the case. It's either that or the track is just sopping wet at that part of the circuit. I mean, really, the wettest part of the circuit is the south end, which is what the teams will be going through here. Yeah, there's confirmation. The number 7 is still beached in the gravel. For some reason, the safety team has not managed to get to that car in time. So they're just going to leave the Aston Martin there and have double waved yellows at turn 1, which means no passing whatsoever. And I believe having to exercise extreme caution, maybe keep to a certain speed through that section of the track. But everywhere else, it is fair game.
All right, Reese. This track is still very much dry, it looks like. From turn 3 to turn at least 6, maybe 7. And then you have this wet section here from turn 8 all the way around pretty much to turns 1 and 2. For your top 2 cars here, championship implications very much on the line. But they have 4 cars of a slower class between them and the first run-up in wet tyres in GT3. How much are they willing to risk on this restart? And do they have an understanding of what they've got underneath them, given that they were doing laps in the conditions prior to all of this, but they would have had temperature, of course, in those tyres.
Yeah, all of that temperature has vanished, though. It looks like the rain has stopped, or at least has gotten considerably lighter. So we shouldn't have the track condition degrade any further. Safety car pulling away from the rest of the field, and now it's up to Vutakorn here to control the pace and form up double file at the front of the field.
I think it's meant to be single file, but he's gone so slow. Yeah. I think he's gone so slow into turn 14. He's checked. He's getting a last gasp of acceleration to put the last little bit of temperature through the tires and the brakes. And now back the field up so he can go as soon as he can again, because that's going to be key, it seems. Yep, he's already going. Safety car heading for the pit lane. Here we go, folks. Timer has reached 0. The final lap board should be out here. This is the green. This is also, I guess, if you're American, it's the white. But there you go. Oh, crawling. They're
Look at how
crawling
much
through the
more
last
speed
quarter.
the GT4 has through the final corner on wet tyres. Goodness me. Our top two here as the last lap begins. They are going to have the most difficult job of all. Can Vutakorn and Piti Bhirombhakdi pull this off?
Here we go, turn one. No overtaking allowed, so you've got to get the passing done on the start-finish stretch. And I think critically, the 786 has cleared some of the traffic. Oh! The 33 of Powerful nearly cleans up the back bumper as some overtaking possibly there, which should be a problem here, folks. As GT4 car literally keeping pace with GT3s because of the tire.
This is crazy.
We're getting into the dry section of the track now, as there you are in the background. The 786 is still behind Simon Chan. So trouble now for that 786. Going to have to go for it here at turn 4, the driest part of the circuit, still here on this final lap.
All right, so this is the small saving grace for Vutakorn and Bhirombhakdi. There's the chasing 786 on the wet weather tyres. Those wets aren't going to be much help in this section of the track, but he is getting ever closer here. There's only the one GT4 in between him and the top two. And this is where the track starts to get wet again. You see there's a little bit of a dry line there. That should help things a little, but then look at the amount of spray that they get. Goodness me. Oh, I really hope that they can actually make it through these next couple of corners because the pressure's on. The 786 trying around the outside to get second spot. Piti Bhirombhakdi defends from him, but the traction through turn 9. The 786 is going to be on the leader by the time they get to the last corner for sure.
Adasak gets through as well for third place. So the wet tyres are going to work here. We've got a couple of corners left, though, folks, to sort this one out. The gambit has not worked for Vutakorn. Up the inside. Oh, three-way through to 12 and 13. Adasak makes it work to the inside.
What an incredible move. 3 wide in a part of the circuit that you almost never see side by side. And sweeping around the outside goes Haziq. Oh, wow. What an incredible final lap, and what a drive from the number 27 B-Quik Absolute Racing Audi. They got on those wets at the right time. The decision to stay out for the top two ultimately coming to naught, and there's a whole gaggle of cars there. 3 wide, 4 wide in places as the finish is on the cards for the 27. Adasak and Akash Nandi win race 2 at Sepang.
And critically watch for the update here for Kandasak, Assyri, and Piti Bhirombhakdi back to 6th place across the line because of the fact they've been swamped by traffic. So for Vutakorn and Lauren Heinrich, they're going to hang on and actually take the championship lead here today, I should say, because a 3rd place finish nets them 15 points. Because Kandasak, Assyri, and Piti Bhirombhakdi, they're going to walk away just 8 points from today's race, being absolutely monstered there on the final lap.
Yeah, wow, that really changes the face of the championship once again. Sets them up well, but hey, 25 points in the bag for this car right here. Akash Nandi and Adasak Tangpucharan. What an incredible sequence of events we've seen here. That rain coming out of nowhere in the final half of the race. Most of the field deciding to get onto the wet tires, but and that decision from our top two to stay out on the slicks, that's going to be one of the defining moments of this 2025 season of TSS for sure.
Here we go, having a look at this one again. So Haziq goes to the inside at turn 12, but he gets shut down by Vutakorn. And then Adasak says, well, if you can go left, I can go right. And the gap is there to make it work. The confidence he has in the car as well to be able to find the speed as in that section of the circuit. Bravo. That's the kind of stuff that we don't normally see actually in this, I have to say, because we don't normally see drivers make that kind of a gamble. And not only is it second outright, it will of course be the GT3 AM class win as well. So double podium celebrations there, and a B-Quik Absolute Racing 1-2 as a result. The final car from the team with Henk Kicks and Sandy Stuvik finishes 5th outright and therefore 4th in the GT3 Pro-Am class today. And man, yeah, that final turn as well, the situation there with everyone in an absolute bedlam. Suggestion there that there was a bit of a lunge from Simon Chan in the number 10 Fire Monkey Motorsport Porsche Cup car. Is what set that off. He finishes a lap behind Natavude, it would appear. So as we're going to look to our race results, 0.7 of a second, or less than 8, the gap across the line here, Reese.
Wow, yeah, only 0.8 of a second in it, but that move from Adasak was brave and extremely well judged in equal measure. That is the true mark of talent there, being able to take advantage of those conditions. In GTM, Natavude takes the win by a whole lap over Simon Chan and the PSC Motorsport Ferrari. Unfortunately, a retirement for the second of the Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand Supras. And then through to GT4, an excellent battle at the start of the race for the top 4. It ultimately goes the way of Nakib Aslan and Mitchell Chemin-J, win by 2 seconds over Hayden Heikal and Daniel Bilski, who bring their Mercedes home in second. A late retirement from Romain Leroux and Graham Dowsett, one of 2 cars that went off when the rain came out. Celebrating victory is Adasak. He knows that he did the job when it counted, and he's netted his team 25 points.
Yeah, that was... I thought a bit... like it seemed a little early. These were 2 of the cars that came in for wets first, but when the rain kept coming down there on that south side of the circuit, they were proven to have made very much the right call, despite the fact that it was somewhat dry from turns 3 through to turn 6. That didn't make a difference when it was as wet as it was from turn 7, but especially turn 9 through to turn 14.
My goodness. Well, interesting to note that, I mean, I'm looking at the championship standings coming into this round, and it seems that the number 27 entry has actually not had any points to its name all season. So,
correct.
Yeah, their first points of the season, and it's a win in the wet at Sepang. What a turnaround.
Yeah, they've raced together before in years previous, but they have missed out in racing so far this year together. So it's effectively it was a new start for them yesterday, unfortunately, in the gravel at turn 13. So as a result, of course, arriving...
oh, yeah, of course. That was the car that beached itself yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you can talk about the turnaround, and it's very much a case of, they turned it around all right and come away here with a race win today. The car has raced this year. Adasak has actually done some of the racing. And so, in fact, critically also noting here, they're actually down as a non-series championship or NSC entry. So it may be a case of the fact that they'll score the points today. Well, they come across the line first, but they actually may not score the points even based on that there, because the car has already raced this year, but with Sathapond racing alongside Adasak. But I have to leave it there for talking championship race, because we do have ourselves for today some highlights to reflect upon from this 1-hour event to cap off the Sepang weekend.
Yeah, so Lauren Heinrich started on pole. We had incredible battling in the GT4 class at the very start of the race, but that number 18 was running away with it in the dry at the start. The 27 was chasing, and then our first incident of the race, the number 32 being pushed off the track with damage, brought out the first safety car. And then the racing continued as we saw suspiciously the amount of mist in the air start to grow. That Aston Martin, a real shame that things turned out the way they did for them, because they were battling for the GT4 lead. Through the compulsory pit stop cycle, we had an advantage being gained, and then the debris flag coming out for the rain coming out, and that's what put Graham Dowsett out of contention here. Big decision from everyone except these 2 at the front to put wet tyres on.
It seemed crazy, especially when you get to that kind of a state of the track. But also critically here, despite the fact this is a 5.5 kilometer circuit, the way I guess with the layout of this circuit, the fact that it looks so different from points of the track, and then that second beaching for the 95, forcing a safety car out onto the circuit, and then a 1-lap sprint. And critically for Piti Birambakti, it was not the right call to stay on slicks. Absolutely eaten up by the 2 B-Quik Absolute Racing outies, and then through turns 12 and 13.
What a move.
The stones on those two with the wet tires underneath them. The storm past Vudicorn, and it takes. So indeed, Simon Chan, big dive, ends up shooting past several of the GT3 cars that are all scrapping together. They're all on wets, I believe, too. And that's just how feisty it was towards the end of the race. But indeed, to Adasak taking the start that Akash and Andy gave him and making the right call to get on wet tyres as the rain came down.
Yeah, fantastic job. Looks like we just caught the end of an interview there. Plenty of very happy campers in this one. The winners of GT4 there, the number 39. And it looks like, Dan, that might be the end of things here on Speed Cafe and, of course, on the Thailand Super Series Facebook and YouTube channel. What a fantastic day of racing. A shame that we only had the one race to call because, man, I want more.
Well, the good thing is, Reese, we will get more. It will be a little later in the year, though. The next weekend of TSS competition is from Friday the 19th to Sunday the 21st of September, the fourth event of the championship. And it will be back here at the Sepang International Circuit. You can expect to see TSS Supercar GT3, GTM, GT4, and joining us will be Supercar GTC and Thailand Super Touring and Super Pickup Division 1 with a possibility of Thailand Super Eco joining us as well. It will be a full, near full lineup of cars and teams and categories of both the B-Quik Thailand Super Series and the Super Series by B-Quik next time out. It does mean we are a good 5 or 6 weeks away from that time, folks. So keep your eyes focused on the Thailand Super Series Facebook page, YouTube channel, Instagram pages. All of their socials will, of course, have all the updates to keep an eye on here, Reese. But indeed, this was just a little taster of what Sepang can bring us here in our top flight GT machines.
For sure. Hopefully we get more of the same when we come back here later in the year. But for now, everybody, we want to thank you for joining us here. And, well, I suppose we'll catch you on the rebound when the next round of TSS comes around. Thanks very much to Speed Cafe and to Thailand Super Series for helping to bring this English language broadcast to you all. Dan Yeaman leading the show. My name is Reese Gardner. Jay Kennedy behind the scenes helping to bring you the live feed from TSS. We'll see you next time.